Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today, we read 2 stories from r/nosleep. Let's begin. Our first story is from RehnWriter. Tonight, I wasn't the only one who was lost. You know those nights, don't you? The ones when life gets a bit too real and when you can't sleep because your head's heavy with questions. What's the meaning of life? What am I even doing here? Where do I want to be in 10 years? Yeah, those. With a sigh, I lit a cigarette and leaned out of my window, staring at the dark night sky. I drew on the cigarette, still deep in thought. The dorms were all but quiet, and it seemed that every other student was fast asleep. For a moment, I was ashamed of myself. What was I even doing? I should be asleep as well. I had a math lecture in about 4 hours, and here I was, staring out into the night. Well, it's not like it really mattered. It wouldn't be the first time I'd missed that lecture, and it wasn't like I'd miraculously understand differential equations of a higher order. In sudden frustration, I stumped out the cigarette, flipped the butt outside, and was about to close the window again. Then suddenly, a quiet voice reached my ears. "Hey." "What the hell?" I brought out, straining my eyes to find the one whispering, but there was no one out there. "Over here," I heard the voice whisper again. Leaning outside, I turned left, then right to find a dark figure pushing against the wall mere meters away from me. I cursed in shock. "Can you help me?" the voice asked. It was as quiet as before, nothing more than a whisper, but now I noticed that it was distinctly female. "What's going on?" "I'm lost," came the answer. I couldn't help but laugh a little. How in the hell did you get lost on campus? She'd probably been out partying and was too high or too drunk to find her way home. "Where are you trying to go?" For a few seconds, there was nothing but silence. "The dorms," she finally answered. "Which one?" Another long pause. I'm not sure," she pressed out. "Well, isn't that great?" "Hold on," I said. I threw on my jacket, put on my shoes, and made my way outside. It was dark, and it took me a while to see her. She was still in the same place, nothing but a shadow huddled against the wall. "Yo," I said as a little greeting. "So you're trying to find your dorm, but got no clue where to go?" A nod. "Well, since you're here, it must be one around campus, right?" Another nod. In the dark, I couldn't see much of her. All I could see was shaggy, wild hair and a mousy face wearing thick spectacles. I thought that she'd been out partying, but I could somehow tell that this girl was no party girl. "What happened? How'd you get lost?" She stared first at me, then out into the dark. Her mouth opened, then closed again. For a moment, something was strange about her face. "All right, listen. I can help you find your dorm, but you've got to talk to me." "I don't know," she finally said. "I don't know what happened." For a moment, she was about to add something else, but then she shook her head. I gasped. Even in the dark, I saw how strange her head moved, how her neck jerked from side to side. What in the hell was wrong with her? Are you all right? Are you hurt? Do you want me to call an ambulance? Maybe you fell and... But I broke up when she repeated the same motion again. No, I'm all right, I think. I just want to get home. Well, I started, thinking about what to do and how to help her. There are only a couple different dorms around campus. I had nothing else to do, and I sure as hell couldn't sleep. All right, how about we walk to each one of them until we find yours? How's that sound? I finally suggested. For a moment, she seemed unsure before she gave me a weak nod and pushed herself from the wall she'd been huddled against. In the night's dark, I'd only be able to see her hair and her face. Now, as she moved, as she pushed her body forward, my eyes grew wide. There was, indeed, something wrong with her. Entirely wrong. A pair of dangly arms stretched out from her body. They were too long, way too long, and a second later they came to rest in front of her. Then another pair pushed forward, and her body was lifted from the ground. Not arms, I realized. Legs. 2 pairs of long, dangly legs. I stumbled back, fell to the floor at the sight of the apparition in front of me. Her body was thin but tall, way too tall, and I realized she must have been crouching against the wall. As she stretched herself, I saw an elongated neck. A short, high-pitched scream escaped my mouth. What's the matter? The thing brought out. Her neck jerked in my direction, and long, spidery fingers reached out to me. I threw myself backward, crawling away in shock. No, go away, go away! I screamed at the thing. For a moment, its eyes met mine. I'd expected them to be hungry, to be wild, but they were filled with nothing but confusion. We both froze, staring at each other. Then a light from one of the dorm rooms above flooded us. In an instant, the creature's head jerked back. Its eyes grew wide, filled with shock and terror. Not right. This is not right, the creature said, retreating from me. Its voice was louder now, and for the first time I could hear how different it was. It was inhuman, distorted, almost gurgling. Not right, the creature said once more. Its mouth opened, unhinging like that of a snake, and an inhuman shriek full of misery cut through the night. A second later, the thing rushed away and vanished into the darkness. I was left alone in the grass in front of the dorm building. Behind me, more lights were turned on. Windows were being opened and angry voices were calling out at me to be quiet. But I didn't react. I couldn't. Instead, I just sat there, staring out into the night with yet another question on my mind. Our last story is from PikaPikaGamer. This was the case that made me quit my investigating job. I pulled up to what would be one of the most memorable, horrifying, and disturbing crime scenes that shook me to my core. A 17-year-old girl, gone without a trace in the middle of a September night. CSI had already made their presence known, dotting the small suburban house with yellow evidence markers. I saw a good friend and colleague of mine standing in front of the door, shifting awkwardly from side to side like a sophomore waiting for their homecoming date. "David, good to see you," I said. Instead of giving me the warm, happy-go-lucky smile that I was used to, he started to walk in my direction at a stern and brisk pace, which made my heart drop a tiny bit. "Brian, there's something bad going on here. Come with me, inside." We began to walk towards the house, not before a woman, hunched over, tears rolling down her face, came stumbling out of the house. She was running towards an officer working crowd control. "Please, please," she screamed. "Don't tell me. Oh Lord, please don't." She collapsed in the front yard, a local news camera making sure they got every second on tape. A young reporter then resumed his speech. "As you can see, Lisa, emotions are running high right now. This is the 13th missing case involving a young teenager in the past 2 months. As you can see behind me, police are currently investigating." He began to walk towards me, and I quickly turned the other direction, making my way into the house. It was a cozy, all-American family home, the kind you would see in stock photos or cookbooks. It was also small, so small that even though there were only about 6 of us in the living room, the air was already somewhat stuffy. My colleague turned to me. "Brian, we've got a problem, a serious one." This was very unusual for him. Even in the worst of situations, he would be always hopeful, optimistic, a glass half full kind of guy. But this time his words, his demeanor, cold, almost bone-chillingly so. I turned to him and asked, "David, what's happening?" He began up the stairs, gesturing for me to follow. 17-year-old girl, no change in mood or appetite, no serious medical history or mental health issues. We reached the top of the stairs, his brisk pace yet cold demeanor remaining the same as we walked down the short hallway. We turned and entered the bedroom. It seemed like an old bedroom typical for a teenage girl. Old pink walls, posters of boy bands, Polaroid pictures of old memories, and a bright blue book titled My Diary, sitting on a white end table next to the large bed. "You need to see what's in this book." He picked up the diary and handed it to me. "What's in it?" I said. "Flip to the yellow bookmark." He sounded almost nervous, like he didn't want me to, but we had to. I flipped to the yellow bookmark with the diary entry. "August 17th, 2001. Dear Diary, I think that's how you start these. I never thought I'd write to you, but I had nobody else to talk to because Kate's phone is busy. I never thought I'd see the day, but now I think she's finally got tired of our 17-hour discussions. Anyway, I just had this amazing dream. I was in this amazing field of flowers and the sun wasn't just warm, but it felt like my body was glowing with the sun. It was surreal. I met a woman who was standing in the field and she told me that I was the only one that could help her bring happiness to the world. I asked what she meant by that, but she said that it was a secret, but in time I would know what she meant. And I just had to write it down and keep the memory. Then I woke up. I know it seems lame, but there was something different about this dream. It felt like I was there, but I wasn't. At the same time, I was? I can't explain it properly. I guess when my brain gets tired, it starts making up random stuff, so I think that this helped me get it out. I heard people wrote things down like dream diaries, but I never understood why. Maybe this is why. I'm not sure, but I guess it helped, so I don't know how to end this entry, but I hope to see you again soon. I looked up from the book. My colleague was anxiously shifting around again. What's so bad about this? I asked. That's just the beginning. Here, flip to the 21st. He took the book from my hand, flipped the pages carefully, and a moment later, I had a new entry in front of me. August 21st, 2001. Dear Diary, I keep on having the same dream. It's almost identical every time, but this time it was different. I saw Kate. Kate. But she does decide to astral project or whatever that's called to visit me. I was in the same field as before, but this time there were tall trees. So tall it looked like they touched the clouds. A small stream with tiny fish in them, and a rope swing next to what looked like a farm in the distance. The woman was also there too. She had a bright green dress and flowers of different sizes and colors dotting her hair. She was elegant, beautiful, graceful. I'm now realizing that I'm just describing Samantha, but I admit that I was envious of this woman too. She and Kate were standing next to each other and looking off into the distance. I asked them what they were doing, and the woman turned to me and said, "We're waiting for Kayla. We are so close now. Your time is coming too. Please, be patient. It will be well worth the wait." And then I woke up. I'm honestly not sure how to feel about this one. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. The kind of peacefulness I've never felt before or thought was possible. I think these dreams are helping me though. I felt more rested and relaxed since then. So I guess that's all I have to say. I almost dropped my jaw when I saw the last line. By the way, Kayla, make a mental note to keep writing these down. It looked wrong, like it was slightly off from the lines before it. Not so incorrect that you'd start asking questions, but enough to the point where I knew something was off. You see it too. We haven't been able to do a handwriting analysis yet, but the CSI have their suspicions, said David, almost as if he was reading my mind. There was almost no explanation for this. The fact that a detail like this would change all of a sudden unless it was being written by somebody else. But the reason someone else would write in this, I have no idea. Gets worse. Here. He took the book, flipped again, and with a deep sigh handed it back to me. September 3rd, 2001. Dear Diary, I just came home. I heard over the loudspeaker that Kate's missing. I nearly fainted. I was a wreck. I heard on the news that teens were running away or going missing or something, but the fact that it would just happen to her is making me go insane. I was a ball of tears and I just couldn't handle it. Mom picked me up and we went home. But suddenly I got the idea to write in my diary. I think it helps. I know I said I would be strong, but it feels like I can't be. I think I'll get some sleep. Directly below was a second entry. September 3rd, 2001, Part 2. Dear Diary, I saw Kate in my dream again. This time, I ran away. I know this is someone trying to taunt me or play with my feelings or give me false hope. I ran as fast as I could and I ran into someone. It was that woman again. She won't leave me alone. She said something to me, but I couldn't understand it. I tried to run away, but my body wouldn't move. Instead, I just stood up to face her. She said something again, but I still couldn't understand. I felt like I was suffocating and couldn't breathe. Then I woke up. The room was pitch black and I tried to gasp for air. I couldn't even move my body. I tried to scream for Mom to help, but I couldn't do anything. And even though the room was pitch black, I saw someone or something standing in the room. I know it wasn't Mom. I was scared. Then, in a moment, I could move again. Light filled the room as I noticed my lamp was on. The thing was gone. I don't know how to feel right now. I want to tell Mom, but something inside me is telling me not to. So, I guess you'll do for now. At this moment, I heard something behind me. I turned, and a man I'd recognized as one of the CSI agents from the living room stood at the door. "Mr. Arnett, think you need to see this." I turned back towards David. He gestured for me to hand the book back to him, and I did, and he put it back on the end table. The three of us made our way to the living room. I could see from the window that a small crowd had formed outside, larger than before. More people from CSI had come, passing us on the way down the stairs. The CSI agent walked into the small dining room/kitchen that connected directly to the living room. We walked over to a corkboard and stopped as he pointed at a post-it note there. "We believe that this was written by the victim. Looks like coordinates." "Do we know where they end up?" asked David. "I just found this, but I think it might clue us in on where she might have possibly gone off to. Give me 10 minutes or so and I'll let you both know." Just then, another colleague of mine burst through the door. It was Nathan. He was out of breath and looked like he just ran a marathon. "Brian, we have problem." He could barely get the words out. "You're telling me," I interrupted. He stood up, looking at me before speaking. "We have a new person missing. 16-year-old Asian male. The school said he didn't show up this morning. Parents say he would never skip school. Nobody's seen him since." The room fell to a stunned silence. I couldn't believe that the situation had somehow gone from bad to worse. Nathan spoke up again. "We've kept the media at bay for this long, but I don't know if we can do it anymore. Not again." Suddenly, a noise broke the silence of the stuffy room, a crash of glass stopping everyone in their tracks. Almost without thinking, the three of us, David, Nathan, and I, ran upstairs, each searching one of the 3 bedrooms, trying to find the source of the sound. I searched the master bedroom, Nathan searched the bathroom, and David checked Kayla's room. The CSI guys were also searching the master bedroom, but it didn't seem as if anything broke. That's when I heard David from down the hall scream, "Did anybody take evidence 28? I turned and walked out of the bedroom. David was already flying down the stairs. Nathan and I looked at each other before walking into Kayla's room. The bedroom window was smashed, and more importantly, the diary was missing. At the same moment, I heard David's voice again, this time louder than before. "Did anybody take evidence 28? There was a pause. No answer. Damn it! I could hear David rush all the way down the steps. He ran around the side of the house, and I could see him out of the window. He was searching for an explanation as to how someone jumped through the window and took the diary. This doesn't make any damn sense. What the hell is going on? I then heard the same man from CSI from behind me. "Mr. Arnett, the cords lead to a wooded area just west of here." I turned and looked out the broken window and shouted at David. I told him to get his butt to the car and start it. Nathan and I ran down the steps, jumping into the car. I had never been to that western wooded area before, but I knew generally how to get there. Breaking every rule of the road, I ran every red light there was. We made it to the location in less than 10 minutes. The trees were old. It didn't look like anybody had been here in a long time. We got out of the car and began walking. The exact location was a bit far, and there wasn't any road we could drive on. As we walked, the crunchy leaves from under us started to get slightly louder as they came from somewhere else. I held up my hand, and we all stopped. The sound was coming from up ahead. It sounded like they were walking further away. We all began to run, shouting Kayla's name the whole way there. Suddenly we saw someone, a 16-year-old Asian boy. Nathan instantly called out for him. "Are you okay?" He didn't acknowledge us. Nathan ran after him but suddenly stopped and fell over, as if he ran into a wall. I walked over to help him. His nose was bleeding. I stopped and reached out my hand. There was some sort of invisible wall that blocked me from moving forward. Suddenly, from behind a tree, a creature walked out. It wasn't human, it was something else. Something I've never seen before. It held the boy's hand and for a moment turned to face me. There was a look of pure joy on his face. The two of them then walked behind the tree and disappeared. The three of us stood there. We were scared and confused. We all walked back to the car, and there was something on the hood. It was the diary, open to a page I hadn't read before, and I read it aloud. September 7th, 2001. Dear Diary, the dream won't end. Every night, the voice is louder, and I feel worse. I feel like I'm going to puke every morning. I'm awake tonight, and something came out of my eye. It was blood. I've made up my mind. I will go to the place that she asked me and meet him. She said that it will stop the pain. I don't know what will happen, but I don't care anymore. I must find out why this is happening to me. This might be my last entry in this. I won't take it with me. I hope whoever's reading this knows that this was not my choice and I never wanted this. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry I couldn't be stronger for you. I don't think I'll be coming back. Goodbye. 2 drops of blood dotted the bottom of the page. I flipped to the next one, but it was empty. As I finished, I saw out of the corner of my eye David getting on his radio. Hey, Mike. Think you'll need to contact someone from PR? You're not going to believe this nonsense we're seeing. And that's where the story ended. I quit a week later. Thankfully, no more kids went missing after this, but I was left with one of the most haunting experiences of my life. The September 11th attacks flooded the media, which made their cover-up job much easier. But I haven't been able to sleep well. I keep having this dream. I'm in a field. I meet a woman. And then I wake up, feeling great. Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story you'd like me to read here, or a subreddit recommendation? Consider sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to check out the original Reddit posts. Don't let the shadows get too close.